We're following developing news now out of Sault Ste. Marie. 4 people have been killed, including 3 children, in 2 separate but connected shootings. A 5th victim was also shot and remains in hospital. Police say the shooter is dead from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. The children killed were between the ages of 6 and 12 years old. Officers say the shooting is the result of intimate partner violence, and the investigation continues.
Well, it's an extremely tragic situation for any community, and the Sioux is no different. These are friends and family of all of us, and when it comes to the loss of life, specifically the 3 young children, it causes everybody to lean in and ask why. And so our officers are currently conducting criminal investigations, and those answers will come out further down the line.
We're joined live now by Chris Lewis, CTV public safety analyst and former OPP commissioner. Chris, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon, sharing your insight with us. A tragic story coming out of Sault Ste. Marie. Police are labeling as intimate partner violence. So talk to us a little bit about that label and how it might differ from domestic violence.
For sure. For years we heard domestic violence was kind of the battle between spouses or partners in life, and sometimes involved children that were in the home. Intimate partner violence is a broader definition of that, but still includes all of the above. Because in many relationships, they don't necessarily live together, but you end up with stalking and criminal harassment, things that come from a relationship that they classify as intimate partner violence. So that's kind of the old rules and new stuff at the same time.
So the term evolving to keep up with the times.
Exactly.
And something around this issue as well kind of speaks to that. We think of these issues as big city issues. We were talking a little bit earlier before we went to air.
Right.
But happening in Sault Ste. Marie, what kind of important things do people need to know when it comes to issues like domestic violence, not just being big city issues?
Well, and that's the thing. There was a time when every discussion we had in the media was around big city crime, violence in the streets of Toronto, Vancouver, Montreal, etc. But that has spread right across Canada to smaller, mid-sized communities like the Sioux, which is my hometown, by the way, and lots of friends there, including the chief of police. Just terrible tragedy for that community. But rural Canada, First Nations communities, we're all seeing an increase in violence over the last 4 or 5 years that is not just big city stuff anymore. So it's a concern for everybody. And on the intimate partner violence front, these people are the children, the cousins, the aunts and uncles and grandchildren of people that we know, like family members in communities. It's not something that is within just a specific class of individuals in the community, or within the addiction community, or within the poverty community. It's everybody, and it's a scary, frightening thing. People at times are reluctant to report things to the police that may be early indicators of what's to come. And then as subsequently real bad things happen, and then people say, oh my God, this is awful. It is absolutely terrible. Sometimes, not always, it could be prevented with earlier intervention.
Let's talk about some of those earlier prevention methods. You talk about, it could be your own neighbor, people that you know in your family. Talk to us a little bit about what those warning signs are and what people should do if they do catch those warning signs early on.
For sure. And I mean, ultimately, there's a lot of social services agencies out there that can help. There are shelters for people that are being abused, for kids that are being abused. There's children's aid. There's all sorts of community help. But the police have to be involved, because if the police don't know that a partner in a relationship is making threats, showing violent tendencies, an increase in tension in the home, that's to the point that someone is afraid for their health and safety or their life, the police have to be involved. If they're not, they don't know what they're getting into when they do get a call, and they can't try and deal with it in a measured way as it elevates before it gets to the point where somebody loses their life. In this case, 3 children. And obviously a parent probably of the children. I'm only guessing that one is badly injured, someone else is dead, and of course the shooter is dead. So could that have been prevented along the way? You never know, but you certainly don't know if it's never reported to police to begin with.
All right, so it's a community approach for sure. I want to talk a little more about the kids, the way police handles cases like this. They said that they wouldn't release the name of the suspect or the victims in the situation because it is an intimate partner violence case. Why is that? Is it for protection of the children, the family?
Yes, it is. I mean, this is a tough one to kind of hang that hat on it and not want to release names, because people are dead. Potential shooters dead. But ultimately, for example, if I was suspect in intimate partner violence, to release my name as being arrested would indicate to the public who the victim was. And so there's always that rub as to whether or not to release it. But in a case like this, I think they're to the point where they're going to have to release the name. The community's going to know anyway. It's just tragic all around. And it's children. No matter what happens between two partners in life, how do the kids ultimately suffer? And I've seen it time and time again throughout my career in law enforcement and since. And it's the worst thing that you see in the policing world. Emergency responders as a whole respond to these things all the time, and it just rips their hearts out.
Tragic for the community involved. We also heard from the school boards putting out statements about the loss of the 3 students as well. So
affects everybody, yes.
As you said, it's a ripple effect, of course, a tragic one. Chris Lewis, thank you so much for joining us
Anytime.
today. CTV's public safety analyst and former OPP commissioner.
Thanks for having me.